Greetings and welcome to the 46th episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases. As always, I'm your host Dark Elf Guy, and today we have another 13 mods for your viewing pleasure with an overall dragon theme. Special thanks goes to Glubby, who composed the comprehensive dragon mod guide on the official forums, which is where a lot of these mods come from. And also, real quick, I want to apologise for the delay in getting episode 46 released. The third episode of Let's Mod Morrowind took a lot longer to process than expected, which sort of really slowed things down a bit for getting episode 46 here finished. But anyway, as always, you can find download links for every mod shown here down in the video description below. So why don't we just go ahead and get started with our popular mod of the week, which this week is Rain of Fire Revised Edition by Rakul and Reverend Glubby. And Rain of Fire is probably, without doubt, one of the most popular dragon mods made for Morrowind, and it all starts out in Caldera, where you meet a crazy-sounding old man, only to be interrupted by a dragon attack right in the middle of town. And this brings up something else. Rain of Fire is a really high-quality production quest mod, including cinematics and new music to accompany dragon attacks. And I'm probably just getting a bit ahead of myself here. Rain of Fire, you see, is a quest mod about the re-emergence of dragons on Vvardenfell. As you play through the quest line, dragon attacks on the cities and villages of Vvardenfell will become more common, involving a number of dragon battles in the middle population centers, like Caldera here. And you'll have to work alongside a crazy old man from the Imperial Court to figure out why these dragons are suddenly appearing now, and why they're attacking so many different locations. And by the way, before anyone notes the similarities to the Skyrim questline here, it should be noted that Rain of Fire predates Skyrim by several years. The original Rain of Fire came out in 2005, before even Oblivion was released. So really, if anyone copied anyone, it was probably Skyrim that copied Rain of Fire. But anyway, Rain of Fire has a long and extensive storyline associated with it, with lots of dialogue and some really good writing. We're looking at the revised version here from the 2009 release by Glubby, which redid a lot of the storyline for improved dialogue and better writing flow. And at first, with the first dragon, you'll have to solve the mystery of why these dragons have suddenly appeared, and piece together reports from several eyewitnesses in order to figure out where these dragon lairs are. This will lead you to a variety of locations, such as a new small Daedric ruin, or caverns deep below the earth, filled with dark passageways and hot, molten lava pools. And as you might expect, along the way, you'll find, eventually, a dragon's lair as well. And something to point out here is that actually finding these dragon lairs are a rather major aspect of Rain of Fire, and indeed there's a lot of the quests and puzzles, and there are indeed some puzzles included with this quest mod. Most of them relate to actually tracking down these dragon lairs to begin with. And of course, once you do discover the dragons, they're hidden deep below Vvardenfell, the scattered remains of their helpless victims along the lair's floor. And each of these dragons has a fairly dramatic introduction and may offer a bit of dialogue with you before ultimately attacking. And these are going to be some really high-level based boss fights. You want to be around level 30 or even higher to stand a decent chance at survival, though you can start the quest at around level 20 if you prefer, and you might be able to survive the first two major boss fights at right around that level. And in any event, you're in for one epic adventure, fighting dragons around Vvardenfell from Balmora to Sadrith Mora, with sweeping battles that'll remind you to some extent of Skyrim, even though, again, this mod came out like 6 years before Skyrim, though the random dragon attacks in cities and villages will definitely feel a lot like the dragon attacks in the Skyrim landscape. And there's also a ton of quests here, from helping poor citizens escape a fiery death, to crawling through ancient Dwemer ruins. And really, in total, there's about 10 to 12 hours of content in Rain of Fire. And it's really one of the more epic adventure quest mods out there that's well worth checking out if you enjoy a good sort of story, and not to mention a lot of epic cinematics in your quest mods especially. It's a very high quality production. For our house mod of the week this week, we have Magus Realm Tower by Korana, and this one starts out with you finding a mage in the magic shop in the Mournhold commercial district, who tells you a story about the Magus Realm, a sort of pocket of space and time separate from the rest of Nirn. And this mage will give you a book that explains the Magus Realm in more detail, and also a summoning gem, which when activated will bring a unicorn to take you to the Magus Realm itself. And yes, I know what you're thinking, gee golly wolly Dark Elf Guy, this sure doesn't seem to be dragon themed. And yes, I know. Patience, my fellow, patience, I'll explain in a moment. This unicorn, which is not a dragon, will bring you to the Magus Realm, an island in space and time that's home to some really lovely gardens, fairies, waterfalls, and a central tower. And yes, there's a bit of a frame rate spike here from all the lights in use in this garden, though it is still really quite lovely. It's a very scenic location. And inside the central tower, you'll find a small player home, which includes a dining room with plenty of seating for guests, a small kitchen towards the back here with a cozy little fireplace, and across the hall on the main floor, you'll find a lovely little mage's library with bookshelves, a desk which includes some portal gems to various cities around Vvardenfell, and a wizard's hat, quite naturally. And this is obviously a very magically based house mod, and you'll find a large magic lab, as you might expect, with a cauldron for brewing all sorts of things. And down below here, there's an alchemy lab, which I'll note has a dragon alchemy sorter. That's right, there's a dragon after all. You know, see, I told you guys this was dragon themed. It may be a tiny dragon, but it still counts in my book. And going back to the alchemy lab again here, you'll notice that all these skulls along the walls are actually ingredient holders, and once you store your ingredients, that's where they'll show up. And there's one other part to this house mod, and that's a small display hall with armor mannequins that you can use to show off clothing and armor, as you can see here. And finally, there's a small master bedroom in the basement with more wizard's hats, naturally, and a few other interesting decorations. And this is just a really great house mod for mage-like characters. It has to be said, this is very ideal for a wizard-like character, for example. And this week's gameplay mod of the week is Lord of Dragons by Mad Max. And this mod has a rather interesting introduction. A new evil has arisen on Vvardenfell, a dragon lord who threatens to be a greater menace than Dagoth was. And should you choose to face him, you'll have to defeat a number of his minions, and he is a rather interesting character, just sort of flying off on his dragon there. And once he's a good distance away, he'll just start summoning creatures to fight you, and this will start off with some Doomless Steam Centurions, such as this fellow. And should you defeat these Doom Esteem Centurions, you'll have to go through one other wave of opponents, which includes some iron golem constructs with dangerous sword arms. And these are a rather unique creature that's been added in by this mod, though I'll note that several other mods have iron golems in them as well. And finally, you'll have to face the Dragon Lord and his Dragon Mount in one last epic battle, as you can see here. And should you defeat him, you'll take on the mantle of Dragon Lord for yourself, including the ability to fly your very own Dragon Mount. And there's 3 different mounts to choose from: a green dragon, who looks kind of bluish to me, a red dragon, and also a black dragon. And yes, you can actually fly these dragons, you can mount them, and then ascend or descend as you so desire, and the dragon controls do take a little bit of getting used to. They're not exactly the easiest controls by a long shot, but they do give you plenty of options, and you can also talk to your dragon, who has a number of features, such as a companion share for storing items, teleporting back to base, and also your dragon will level up over time, improving their stats with more powerful attacks, and also the ability to carry more. You can also activate freeform first-person view, which allows you to look around while perched on your dragon and attack any opponents, especially if you have a ranged weapon like a crossbow. And really, flying your own dragon provides just a great new way to travel around Vvardenfell. No longer are you constrained to the ground or forced to float around with levitation. Now you can have a living, breathing beast take you from one end of Vvardenfell to the next. You can even have your dragon spit fireballs down below at helpless critters, giving you a whole new form of aerial attack to rain terror down below on the residents of Tamriel. And there's really no limit to what you can do once you become a Dragon Lord, riding your very own dragon across Vvardenfell, Lord of the Skies, though you may still have to deal with the occasional cliff racer. Next up we have our Dungeon Mod of the Week, and this week we have Dragon's Lair by Gorg. And this mod really does 2 things. It adds dragons that randomly spawn in the Ashlands, Malaga Moor region, and the Red Mountain regions, like this fellow here. And these are your more ground-based dragons. They don't really fly, but they do spit fire, and they also drop some interesting loot now and then. And these dragons come in a variety of different sizes and colours, and they have a variety of different levels as well. Some are tougher and will require a level 15 character or above to face. Others are absolutely massive beasts that are practically boss encounters that you can find in the wilderness and will need to be approached with caution, especially if they are accompanied by any of their smaller dragons as seen here. And again, it's sort of an interesting combination when you find two dragons out in the wilderness in the same area. And the second thing that this mod does is it adds a large new dungeon to the base of Red Mountain, where the Lord of all Dragons lives, deep in the bowels of Odenfell. And well past the ghost fence surrounding Red Mountain, these are massive cavern chambers, and the central there, which you can sort of see over here, is home to one truly massive dragon. This is an epic-sized battle, really, and you should probably be around level 40, or even level 50, to even have a sort of chance to survive here. And it will take you a while to kill this beast. It certainly can take a punch, and it can spew a ton of fireballs at you. And just a word of advice, a ranged weapon might work better against this than a traditional melee weapon. And once defeated though, you can help yourself to the dragon's riches with a ton of gold, precious gems, powerful weapons, and more as your reward. Really, there's an almost unbalancing amount of loot here, but it is offset by the sort of difficult nature of the fight here, and you'll feel like you've earned the largeness of this treasure trove in the end. For our items of the week this week, we're looking at Dragon Rider's Armor by Mandamus, and this is quite obviously a new set of armor that's been added to the game. And I'm not going to reveal where it is exactly, it's actually hidden in a dated ruin somewhere, and I don't want to spoil anything, so you'll just have to find it for yourself when you try out this mod. But the armor itself is pretty cool looking, sort of a red and silver look, with a face mask, and parts of the armor kind of look like they're made out of bones, or maybe even dragon bones, really hard to say. But regardless, it's a cool looking armor that, as the name suggests, is meant for dragon riders. And what a coincidence, we just showcased the dragon riding mod earlier. And in just a second, you can see my character riding a dragon from Mad Max's Lord of the Dragons mod with this dragon riding armor on. And it really does match with the sort of dragon look rather well, I dare say. After all, if one is going to fly the skies on dragonback, one should really take an effort to look the part. And this certainly does the trick in that regard, and it's really just a fantastic looking set of armor, I have to say. This week's quest of the week is Infernal Summoning by Lap, aka Lane Phillips. And this isn't exactly a quest mod per se, we just had an extra dragon related mod with no good slot to really put it in. Rather, this is a dungeon and gameplay mod that adds a new dungeon for you to discover in the Azur's Coast region. In this dungeon, you'll find notes on how to summon and bind creatures to you, so that they'll follow you around and serve your every need. First though, you need to fight through the dungeon and collect a set of books that show how to summon each type of creature. There's a couple dozen of these scattered throughout the dungeon, and you'll want to collect as many as you can by defeating the various creature types first, then collecting their books. And there's even a few other dungeons just scattered around Odenfell with more books of creatures for you to collect, some of which are quite unique to this mod, like the Bone Raptor. And in total there's 4 new dungeons added altogether, including a Dragon's Lair, where you'll have to defeat a dragon in order to get the ability to summon dragons for yourself. And naturally, this will be a pretty difficult fight. This is sort of another boss fight in terms of, combat level. You'll have to be around level 20 or so to really survive this one, though a lot of the other creatures are quite easier to do. Now, in order to start summoning creatures, you'll first need to come up with a summoning circle and place the book of the creature you want to summon on the lectern. And then you need to put the correct ingredients and the correct pattern in each of the braziers that sort of surround the circle bit in it like a pentagram-like shape. And once done, you can begin the summoning, and if you have a sufficient magical skill, your creature will appear before you. And you will need to have a fairly high level in intelligence and also conjuration to really be successful with these. In this case, I've summoned a dragon, because, well, obviously, this is a dragon-themed episode, it only makes sense, and each of the creatures you summon have some basic companion commands, such as following you around and staying behind, and you can also have them prepare for transport, which places a gem of the creature in your inventory to activate later. Really, it's just basically Pokemon, only with gems instead of Pokeballs, which, it kinda makes sense. And you can also summon other creatures as well, such as Bone Raptors. and there's really no limit to how many creatures you can summon, though you're forced to have only one particular creature following you at any one time. So this mod is, kind of balanced. It isn't unbalancing at all to any extent. And anyway, when you want to bring one of your summon creatures out, just place a gem or Pokeball on the ground and activate it. This will summon the creature like a Frost Atronach, and they can help you out in a fight, like if you decide to attack the town guards or something of that nature for whatever reason. But in any event, with this mod, you now have the option to summon permanent creatures to come to your aid, provided you have the magical skill and know-how to summon them in the first place. And this is a great and fairly balanced mod for getting a few companions to fight alongside you, particularly the dragon and other creature variety, as you can sort of see here, though the animations for the dragon are a bit iffy, I suppose. Next up, we have our Landmass Mod of the week, and this week we have Devil's Rock for Vivek's Soul by Ill-Tempered. Now, this is a kind of interesting, if not altogether dragon-themed mod that starts when you find a fairy outside the Shrine of Azura, with a note about Devil's Rock, a sort of new landmass far off from Vvardenfell, and the ancient fortress that sits on the top, which is actually sort of the name of the island, is Devil's Rock. And it's a forbidding island with a decidedly menacing air, and a sort of sense of doom as you approach. The landscaping's a bit rough, but the main path here leads up the mountain, through dead wooded areas and past pools of lava, and also the occasional pack of wolves, to the very top, where you'll find the fortress at Devil's Rock, waiting for you. It's a rather evil-looking place, I have to say. And to even get inside the fortress, you're going to need to kill Vivek and steal his soul, so this is something you should really do only once you've actually finished the main quest and have no further need for Lord Vivek. I mean, after all, he only sits in his palace and levitates around after the main quest, so you may as well just put him to work towards something useful, like unlocking the imposing doors to a towering evil fortress for you to live in for the rest of your adventures in the game world. It only makes sense to me. I mean, what else is he good for? Nothing really. But anyway, the point is you're going to have to kill Vivek in order to get inside Devil's Rock, and you'll need a pretty good soul gem for that, like Azura's Star or a Grand Soul Gem. And inside you'll find some rather large-scale interiors, like the Throne of Fang here, and you'll notice it is a bit frame-rate heavy in here, and I do apologise for that. But anyway, this first interior acts as sort of your introduction to Devil's Rock, and it really is quite the chamber with lava everywhere and massive volcanic steps leading up to a throne made seemingly for the gods themselves. And this is actually basically a house mod for evil-type characters, and there's even a large dining room included with the fortress of Devil's Rock, along with some dragon statues, hints our dragon theme. Yeah, that's right, I'm including statues as being relevant to our theme for this episode. They're still dragons, so, they count. It's not cheating, not really. Anyway, you'll notice a lot of minions lurking about in here, and these fellows offer some services like training and the like, and they also have some companion share functionality, so they sort of act as living, breathing armor mannequins if you'd prefer. Though they might seem a bit weird like that. I mean, they're minions, so they don't really have any rights. And a really cool thing about this mod is just the sheer number of really unique interiors, like this cavern fortress has an underground cavern with a ship at dock, and a beautiful little shrine on the shore here. And this is just a really cool setting with some storage and display space for you to use. And again, these environments are just really unique and well crafted, making them sort of fun to explore, and also to just sort of kick back and enjoy yourself after a long day out adventuring. I especially want to point out this rather magical-like area over here, with some beautiful mushroom gardens, waterfalls, and I think there's even a few fairies just sort of hovering about over here, along with a bunch of insects, so, You may not consider insects to be much of a positive, but I kind of think that they add to the atmosphere in those caverns. And there's also a dining area below decks here, with a bit more display space and a few NPCs hanging around who provide a range of services, including transportation to various locations. And towards the back here, there even appears to be something of a drug den. And, you can't be a proper evil lord these days without at least one drug den after all, so that's kind of important. And to show off another one of these really unique interiors, here you can see one of the main chambers in Devil's Rock, a sort of massive laboratory with crystal ceilings and just an interesting assortment of decorations and building designs. Not to mention lots of storage and some desks, and you'll even find a ton of mages in here providing a variety of magical-based services for your convenience. Now, I don't want to show off everything here, I kind of want to leave some things unspoiled for you guys, but one last thing I did want to show you guys is the top of the mountain here, which is a really kind of epic location of giant Daedric ruins, some strange architectural-like structures, and the tower that caps off the Devil's Rock Fortress, and it all just really looks quite scenic, and this is a perfect lair for an evil, dark dragon lord to rule from, I have to say. But moving on, for our NPC Mod of the Week this week, we have Rorcasian, Dragon Race by Sabregirl, and I do apologise if I mispronounced that. This mod adds a new race to the game that you can choose to play as, which I'm just going to call a Dragon Race to make it a bit easier on myself for pronouncing it. And basically, it lets you play as a dragon variant. These aren't really giant, stomping, fire-spitting dragons though, these are smaller, dragon-like creatures, more in line with Tamriel's other residents. Now, an interesting aspect here is that male dragons have gold faces and skin, while female dragons have blue faces and skin, so you can't really change the faces at all, but they are different based on which gender you play as, and of course there's about a half dozen different hair options for each gender, which in this case has basically horns with a variety of different styles, including a few of earrings dangling from said horns. And here you can see the male dragon model, and it's basically a lot like the Argonians in the game, only with more scales, wings, horns, and a razor-sharp tail that has numerous horns poking out of it. And all in all, this is a really cool looking race, really quite different from other Tamriel races, even if it is a bit similar to the Argonians. And here you can see the female dragon. Again, you'll notice the blue colour of the skin and scales, and I have to say the Imperial armour looks especially nice. But in any event, this is a really highly detailed race that offers you the option of playing as something just a little bit different and unique in your game, and this mod is definitely worth checking out if you're into that sort of thing. Now, this week's new meshes and textures mod of the week is Dragonbone Armor by Jason, and this mod basically completes the Dragonbone Armor set found in Morrowind by adding the missing pieces scattered around in hidden spots all around Vvardenfell. In vanilla Morrowind, you only really had the Dragonbone chest piece, as seen here. With this mod, you can now find gauntlets, shoulder pads, boots, and greaves to just sort of complete this set. And obviously, since this is supposedly crafted from the bones of dragons, this mod is basically dragon themed, so it matches with our episode here. And these are all pretty rare chess pieces, basically unique artifacts, much like the original chess piece, so you'll have to keep your eyes open in order to complete this set. They're just scattered out in various hidden spots around Vvardenfell, and it's obviously a very high-end sort of armor to begin with constant enchant effects and all that sort of thing. But it's not really unbalancing, and in any event, it's a really cool looking armor set. Next up we have our Modest Resource Mod of the Week, and this week we have Dragon Statues Modest Resource Package by Militides, Kaishin-Ju, and JB. Now again, the dragon theme here is just a little bit weak, and I do apologise for that, you know, with a sort of specific theme like this, it's a bit hard to find enough mods to fill up an entire episode. But anyway, this is a Modest Resource Package of dragon statues that you can use in your own mods, and you've actually seen a lot of these already in mods that we covered earlier. These dragon statues have been used in dozens of Morrowind mods, and they certainly do add a bit of variety to the environment. There's also a few smaller dragon statues with icons, so you can even have them as items the player can interact with and pick up if you so desire. Now for our underrated mod of the week this week, we have Dragon Companion by Kagranak, aka Kegs, aka Raven. Now this mod, as the name would imply, adds a dragon companion that you can get to follow you along on your adventures outside of Balmora. And this uses one of the dragon models that we saw earlier for flightless dragons. This fellow can't really fly after all, but it does use some of Grumpy's early companion scripting features, which is quite handy. And regardless of whether he can fly or not, he is a useful fighting companion to have, helping to help watch your back and potentially protect you from a swarm of enemies, like a random squad of angry skeleton warriors, as you can see here. And he's certainly an interesting, sort of different companion to have. This week's Blast from the Past mod of the week is Dragon's Lair by Lady Ray, and I know what you might be thinking. We already covered a mod called Dragon's Lair, what's up with this second one? Well, it turns out that Dragon's Lair is actually a really common name when it comes to dragon mods. I mean, who knew, right? Dragons often have lairs. Who would ever combine those two words together? So we actually ended up with two of the same name but different authors in this episode. But in any event, this mod adds a new race called the Dragon Race to Vvardenfell, and this is a female-only race with about half a dozen different face and hair types to choose from. Now, even though this is actually called a dragon race, they're really more of a humanoid-type dragon race, and really they don't even look like dragons at all. Apparently they have scaly backs, similar to a dragon, hence the name, but their most distinguishing feature has to be their blue skin, accompanied by blue hair that comes in some really fantastical styles, making it an interesting race to play as. This mod isn't just a race mod though, it also adds in a new dragon temple to Solstein, with a few more obvious dragon touches like, well, dragon statues like we just saw, and wall hangings, and there's also a few other members of this dragon race here, some of which sell a variety of new items for you to buy, though you'll have to get them to stop dancing for a second to service you. For players using a dragon character though, you can get a few of these items for free right off the bat. And these new items include a wide variety of different clothing styles and armor that have been designed especially with the dragon race in mind, but which can also be used by other races naturally, though I think that mostly female-oriented clothing and armor, so just keep that in mind that they're mostly just for female characters. Here you can see another outfit along with one of the new weapons included with this mod, a new bow which comes with a quiver of arrows, and just to show off some more weapons here, there's a total of about 4 or 5 new bows added by this mod, and there's new weapons in pretty much every category, so any type of player will find something to use with this mod, and really, there's quite a few new items in this Dragon's Lair package. I mean, I think there's 30 or 40 different items in total. It's quite a lot. And here you can see a few more of those items, particularly blade-type weapons, and there's over half a dozen different types of longswords, claymores, even bat lifts for you to choose from, some of which come with sheaths that'll appear on your character, which is a kind of nice and realistic touch. Others have dual wielding enabled, so you'll have matching pairs of blades in each hand, or not, depending on which weapons you want to use. And in order to leave some things for you guys to find on your own, I'm not going to show off every outfit or items here. There's easily about 24 potential outfits for your character to wear after all, and we're not going to cover all of those. Instead, let's focus on weapons, and here you can see a large array of the new weapons added by this mod, and you can tell they're a pretty colourful bunch, coming in mostly blues and purples, and they have a fantastic level of detail to them, with patterns along the blades and decorative additions. And a lot of these are retextures, but they still look really good, I have to say, and probably make this mod worth checking out just for the weapons alone. Finally, for our bonus mod of the week this week, we have Sashi Dragon Scale Armor by Major Gorb. And yes, this is a Nether Armor mod, the third in this episode, and in my defense, there's only so many dragon mods out there. But anyway, you've likely seen this armor featured in past mods, because it's a really cool armor set based off of the Imperial Dragon Scale armor in Vanilla Morrowind, but with a steel blue tint and some interesting designs, especially along the shield here. You have to remember that the Sashi are a sort of a serpent race, so you can see a lot of serpent imagery with this armor especially, with a mix of skulls and dragons. And this armor also comes with a bow for you to use, for players who use ranged weapons that is, and it more or less fits in with the armor with the same color scheme and design, and this is just another cool armor mod you can choose to include in your game, or use in your own mod, since I believe it doubles as a modder's resource. But in any event, that pretty much wraps up all the mods I have to show you guys this week. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this episode, do please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time with another 13 mods for your viewing pleasure.